evidence leader. Now, I have explained, as I will do again, the word immediately. Now, it didn't mean, Senior Counsel, that, for instance, anybody driving the car must then stop and leave the car and go home because the political killings task team has now been closed. It didn't mean that. It didn't mean that if you're pursuing any case, because closing a case is something else, and as you see, it's not there. It didn't mean that. It didn't mean that. Stop the car where you are. Drop the key, go home. Because
But Minister, why didn't you write? You said your decision, your directive. We'll still discuss it, although you know I'm not here to discuss the law or draw legal conclusions.
yes,
but clearly what you've read and what we've also received when we asked, we sent an information note to your legal team. We've been given the reasons that you think it's lawful and it's constitutional. So I don't want to debate that. But you say you held the honest belief that is in the best interest of the South African Police Service that this team be disestablished. You also said what you meant in this directive is not that, like a car, you must stop it immediately and get out of the car and leave it in the middle of the road. This is dangerous to do that. At least pull it off the road and put on your hazards or something and show, you know, there's some car in the road and to avoid the car. Now why did you not write this letter in that kind of language when you knew that the National Commission is on leave until the 14th? And say to him, for example, you know, even though it's New Year's Eve, there are 3 matters that I would love to discuss with you urgently or very urgently upon your return. And these are the 3 matters. Or could you give me a report on these 3 matters or 1 matter by 20 January and by the end of January? But that's not the tone of the letter. I put it to you, Minister, that this letter and the tone of the letter, the language used in the letter, is in direct contrast to what you are telling us today, that you held this honest belief that this team must be closed and it must be disestablished, and that you had the power to do so. That doesn't come out of the letter when one reads the plain language of the letter and the record that we've heard in this inquiry, and which you, I think, fairly have acknowledged that the STARS team, when they were in operation, they did a good job. They did what they were required to do.
So can I respond?
Yeah, yes.
Senior Counsel, you are respectfully talking about various matters. Let me address the one that you addressed later of the tone. There's a different matter of the tone. I share your feeling that the tone was strong.
The tone was strong.
The tone was strong.
Or wrong?
Pardon?
You share my view that the tone was strong or wrong?
It does seem,
both.
It does seem what you're expressing to me is your personal concern that the tone was rather strong. I have no problem with that. I agree that it may have been a strong tone. to a point where what you are suggesting that it could have said this and this same thing, but on a softer tone. It could have happened. I have no problem with that, Senior Counsel.
In fact, may I add on to that?
But
I think
may I respond?
Yes, but
yeah, so that I don't forget.
Given a full opportunity, let me just add this. I think the intelligence division, especially now that we know the issues, let's just call them neutrally issues with intelligence, and it's at the heart of this whole inquiry. And you say the filling of posts must be halted immediately. Even vacant posts must be halted immediately. And I think you mentioned in your evidence that you, into the new year, that's why you wrote it on the 31st.
Yes,
into the new year, you wanted to give us, the public, some kind of confidence that these issues are being addressed.
The way the Senior Counsel is putting it, in terms, it's like there was a panel with people lined up for interviews, and then I say, stop. It wasn't like that, Senior Counsel. There was no lineup of people to be interviewed at night on the 31st. So it wasn't a question of saying, stop. It didn't say on the date, while you are driving on the car, stop the car and get out. What I'm saying, I share with you, which happens ordinarily in any conversation, anytime, in ordinary life, that you talk to somebody and then you see, somebody would say to you, hey, you were rather strong-toned. That happens in everyday life experience. It's an everyday life experience. I know you were soft and nice. It's part of life. Now here, I admit that the tone was strong. But I also similarly want to indicate to you that on the 21st of November, I had convened a meeting, National Commissioner, Deputy National Commissioners and Provincial Commissioners, and said, the murder rate in the country is concerning. So you call a meeting, you express that to your Minister of Police. You say the escalation of drug distribution and the destruction that comes with that. I'm very concerned to a point where I don't sleep well. You go on to say there are too many firearms killing too many people, especially illegal firearms. You are deeply concerned and you are addressing this issue live. Now, on the 31st, you write a letter. You are completely focused on these matters that you believe strongly and honestly, that are a concern to people out there. Even on the 31st, people are worried about issues on border management, even on the 31st. Not all of us who have met and go and bribe on the 31st.
I'm not even sure that people want to be worried on the 31st of December with anything.
Yes, I'm now addressing, because in sharing your concern, I also want the House to be alive on what concerns people outside. I may have been concerned about National Commissioner being on leave. I may have been concerned about the tone. But in this instance, it doesn't mean that the tone was unlawful. It doesn't mean that the act itself was unlawful. I wrote these directives. I accept that I may have chosen a softer tone on this, but it was no insult to anyone. I knew National Commissioner is on leave, send the letter to acting national commissioner.
When did you entertain or begin to entertain these thoughts that you need to address these issues, and that
it was
to me like this is in the public interest that these issues must be addressed? When did you start entertaining these thoughts? When did you start scribbling down? Because you say you drafted this letter yourself.
It's a cumulative issue that I'd been aware long before I became Minister of Police, that there is a grievance out there, outside ourselves as cabinet, outside ourselves as MPs, about how porous our borders are. I even called a meeting for that. I even called the CEO of AXA to come and brief us about what's happening at OR Airport in terms of security, tight security at the airports. I may as well jump a little bit and say 2 weeks before General Mchunu went to a press briefing, I had called a meeting of the National Commissioner and Crime Intelligence to come and make a presentation to me about drugs in South Africa, about firearms in South Africa. I've got documents here. And that meeting, that presentation was done to me. It took more than 2 hours.
But you never discussed the political killings task team in that meeting.
But
you never discussed the political killings task team in that meeting.
In that meeting, no. We discussed drugs and firearms, which are killing people outside. So I had said in November, I am deeply worried about these 2 matters. Now, it's now 31st. And I then write the letter about issues that I believed were deeply concerning, not just to me. Now, I couldn't, in my choice, be worried more about that it was the 31st than the impact of these matters that I was talking about to our work. I couldn't.
I mean, you received...
Senior Counsel, may we take the hand of Honorable Malam?
Not, thanks, Chair. I'm not hearing, and I want to understand about this immediately. Is the immediately in the draft that you send to the Chief of Staff, who sent it to your advisor? If you're to give us the draft, not the final version of the letter, will we find a way to which we now accept that it was strong? Will we find immediate in the draft letter?
Yes, immediately was written by me. Both in the draft that was checked by Advocate Pikoli and in the final draft. But as I've explained, in the context where you say, I need a preliminary report by a date after the 20th or something like that of January. So common sense tells you that the person who was writing this immediate was envisaging that the immediate doesn't mean stonewalling just there. You are driving the car, I've taken a decision. You are under arrest, get out. Because this car belongs to the task team. A decision has been taken. No, it merely was, the decision has been taken immediately, but the preliminary report in some future. But then the meeting of UNESCO in another future. Now, if you are in the executive and you are worried, you have to show your true colors and show seriousness on what you are conveying. I'm not saying be harsh, I'm not saying have a strong toe, but the issues that I had identified were of serious worry to me, even on the 31st, and I want to believe that I wasn't alone. I was with other people in South Africa. I was expressing their views, and I believe that it was lawful, and there was nothing wrong with it. But if you say the toe was strong, yes, the toe may have been strong,
Sorry, Honorable Chair.
but not as if there was something illegal about it, not as if there was something unlawful about it.
Okay.
Ukuzwelana nje ukuthi yayingabekeka ngendlela incwadi singazwelana lapho sikhalisana ngiyavuma ukuthi hayi ngayibeka yathi ba strong kodwa hayi ukuthi
Extra strong.
not that it was unlawful, not that it was
No,
unconstitutional.
she's saying it's unlawful or,
Yes.
you know, whether you use strong language or light language, it's either lawful or unlawful. So,
Yes. Thank you.
And I
Honorable
check,
Chair,
how
has
much
Honorable Malema been
Yeah.
responded to?
I got a signal that he's satisfied. I want to check with you, how much more time do you still need?
Well,
I can allocate you 4 hours more.
I think we had earlier agreed, Honorable Chair, that we will stop at 6.